What is going on, you guys, and welcome back to another exciting video. In today's video we're gonna talk about the brand new release Lumafusion 3.0, and this is coming packed with new amazing features. You're able to use audio plugins such as denoiser. A lot of you have been asking for denoiser for a very long time. You can use stabilization, you can use
Hallå!
Det går inte.
Hallå!
Nej, det går inte.
Hallå!
Det är jobbigt. Det är jobbigt. Famla, bisha. Famla, du går ut. Anyway, new UI. No. Anyway, this brand new update is coming packed with new features. We have edit from an external drive, such as a Samsung T5, T7, X5, depending on the device you have. So first, I want to say, don't rush to get any, insanely fast drives. Then, the T5 is old. It's not the fastest one. It has a read and write of 500 something, but it's lightning fast with the iPad and Lumafusion, so I can honestly recommend this one because this is the only one that I have now. I have no plans in getting another one. If I'm gonna get one more, then I might as well get the T5 because it's so fast with the iPad, so why would I need something else? The video is not about that, by the way. But the thing is, there's so many features. A resizable UI, edit from external drive, we have stabilization coming, audio equalizer, audio plugins, and we have some new updates to the audio waveform inside of the audio section as well. And it's just amazing how many improvements they managed to pack into these updates, and it's insane. And without further ado, let's head over to the iPad so we can go through all the amazing settings. I feel like I'm smiling so much more now because of all the updates are so amazing. Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. I don't think I've smiled this much when I made a tutorial or walkthrough. Anyway, let's take the talk after, and then let's head over to the iPad so let's do it. Now let's start with the new adjustable interface. Being able to adjust the UI as we want by changing the scale of the 3 sections when working on a project is a big upgrade from the previous 2.4 version. Adjusting the UI will allow you to have better editing experience, especially on smaller devices such as an iPhone or a smaller sized iPad. The adjustable UI is easy to use and works with any of the 6 pre-made layouts, which you can also find in the layout section. I found this extremely useful when managing media on the left, bottom, or right side. Depending on the layout you've chosen, you can drag the anchor point as you wish to make the media section bigger. Then import the media by selecting one or multiple clips, then tap, hold, and drag it over to your timeline, or select the clips and tap insert clips. There has also been added some new features to the insert clip button. Tap holding on insert clip will now prompt you with 3 options, such as insert to main, and this will basically insert the clip or the clips to the main layer. The important thing here is to keep your playhead at the beginning or at the end of a clip so you don't risk cutting that clip where you have the playhead in two. Then we have the other one, which is overwrite to a main. This does the same thing as the previous one, inserting the clips to the main layer, but this also cuts away and removes all the clips inserted to the right of where you have the playhead. So if you have multiple clips inserted and you find out that you want to have all the clips, so instead of going down to the multi-select option for then to drag across the clips and then tap delete, you can select the clips you want to import and choose overwrite to main instead. Personally, I use the multi-select if I want to delete all clips and not make a new project, and the way I do this is to select the multi-selection button and then I tap on one of the in or out handles on the touch bar and then tap delete, because this is basically selecting the entire sequence. The last one is place on secondary. This will insert the clips above the main media that you have on your timeline, so if you have a full project, let's say 4 layers, you using this option will then place the selected clips in the clip selector and then put those on layer 5. So this will always put the clips on top of the clips that you already have on your timeline. So whenever you reach 6 layers, which is the maximum amount of layers we can use at this time, you will lose this option and then be left with insert or overwrite to main. Now another thing which has been changed to the UI is the placement of the clipboard, which on the timeline has the same original placement which we're used to, but once we get into the edit section of a clip or audio file, the clipboard has been moved to the middle section on top. Now the reason for that might be because they want to make the app a little bit cleaner by removing some of the clunky areas where there is a lot of buttons. So whilst we're here in the edit section, let's take a look at the audio equalizer and the audio plugins. So let's go into the audio section here, and once we get into the audio section, we can find a new updated look to the waveform, which is looking amazing. And this makes it easier to see the different spikes in the audio, which again makes it easier for us to use audio effects such as low pass, high pass, and adjust the gain at the right place, and it really looks stunning. In the audio section, you will also be able to use the resizable UI feature to adjust the size of the waveform, graphs, and plugins. On the top right section, you'll find the different audio filters, and new to Lumafusion 3.0 is third-party AUV plugins. Here you'll be able to add the audio apps you might have used with your iPhone or iPad as a combination with Lumafusion. So if you have a Lumafusion compatible audio app, you'll be able to add this as a plugin in Lumafusion. So if we go over to the plugin icon here with the plus next to it, you will be able to see the audio plugins that you have on your device, which is compatible with Lumafusion. We can also see the available plugins and those which are in use. So to enable a plugin, we're gonna tap hold on the 3 lines, drag it over to in use, and now your third-party audio apps will be ready to use with Lumafusion. And if we go under to the plugin section here, you will be able to see all the active third-party audio apps which you have connected with Lumafusion. For me, it's hard to say if this will have any impact on performance in the long run, but if audio plugins is something you use now and then, you can always go to the plugins icon with the plus next to it and drag the third-party audio apps over to available, which will make them inactive. And with the new third-party audio plugins, you will be able to use audio plugins such as denoise, compressor, equalizer, and so much more. I'm not a big user of audio apps or plugins, so whatever you are using with your editing workflow in Lumafusion, please make sure to comment those below to help others find the right app to use for their needs. Now, moving over to the new audio equalizer, which is to be found under the filters tab. This is called graphic equalizer. So what is it and what does it do? The graphic equalizer will allow you to alter the sound by boosting and cutting away certain frequencies. So for example, if your treble is too loud, you can cut the volume of the higher frequency band to soften it. And if your bass is too dark and shaky, you can lower one of the lower frequency bands. Now, if frequency is something you're not familiar with, it's basically the rate of how fast sound waves is passing certain points, and this is also measured in hertz, which is the number of waves that passes a point in 1 second. So low notes travel in slow waves and high notes in fast. But one of the cool things with the equalizer in Lumafusion is the easy ease curves, which is making the adjustments sound smooth and not jumpy. You can, like all other sections as well, save the adjustments and the settings as a preset and name it accordingly to what you're going to use it for, and then later import the preset for a faster workflow rather than making all the adjustments over again. Now, that's enough for me when it comes to audio. I want to talk about stabilization and editing from an external drive. Let's take a look at the stabilization first. To apply stabilization, you can either go to the preset section from the timeline by selecting the preset icon, then the stabilization icon, and here you will find 6 built-in stabilization presets or your own custom presets. Tapping on either one will apply the stabilization to the selected clip. By going into the edit section of a clip, we can locate the stabilization section by selecting the stabilization button on the bottom bar. On the right side, we can tap to enable stabilization, and once the tracking dominant motion is complete, we're free to adjust the settings in real time without any second renders. Now once the stabilization is applied, we can adjust the overall strength of the stabilization, which is adding stabilization smoothness to the horizontal, vertical, and rotational movement of the video. Shutter correction can also be added if you have rolling shutter in your video, which is typical to see with the Sony a7 III. Advanced strength is where you tweak the stabilization. Here you can adjust the different axes of the stabilization, so if you have a video where there is more rotational movement than horizontal and vertical, you can bump up the stabilization of the rotation and keep the horizontal and vertical low to maintain more of the image in your frame, as well as maintaining a crisp quality. Keep in mind, the more movement you have and the more stabilization you do, the worse your video will look. So always prepare when shooting and use stabilization as a last resort. I also have an in-depth video going through all the details and settings of the stabilization section, what the different things do and how I have been using them in the past months, best recommended settings for different videos, and some free stabilization presets for you to use. Make sure to check out that video for the freebies and of course the in-depth learning. Now let's move over to external drive editing. Now the external drive editing can be enabled or disabled from the settings menu under preferences. Turning on the external editing will prevent your clips from being copied to Lumafusion's library and therefore prevented from being copied to your device, taking up storage. Now if you ask me, this is the most handy feature. It allows every user to edit their videos without thinking about storage space, so it no longer matters if your storage is limited to 64 gigabytes. With the external drive editing, you're only limited to the storage of your external drive. The editing through an external drive is super fast, it's instant, and it's convenient. So let's go through the process of how you can use external drive editing to speed up your workflow, manage media, and never import a single video to your iPad. Everything done via an external drive and Lumafusion. So the footage we're going to use for Lumafusion in this example is a 4K clip, 120 FPS from the Sony a7S III. The clip is 5 minutes long, 100 megabits per second, and the file size is huge. So to get this clip over to my external drive for then to use it with Lumafusion later on, I'm using a multi-port dongle from Satechi. From the dongle, I'm plugging my Sony a7S III and the external drive. Then I'm plugging the dongle into the iPad and transferring the footage from the camera directly over to the external drive. Once the transfer is complete, I disconnect the camera and keep the external drive connected. Inside of Lumafusion, I've already turned on the external drive editing, so now I can locate the video file, import that over to the timeline without taking up any space on the iPad. But how do we know if the footage is not being downloaded? So if we go over to the settings and disable external drive editing, delete the footage from the timeline and then import the footage again, you'll see the same downloading media appear on the right middle section as we did before. When importing from the SSD disk, when the external drive editing was enabled, we did not receive this message and we couldn't see any indication that this was being downloaded. So this is basically going to be your indicator when you are importing footage from your drive. So back to the footage imported directly from the external drive, and everything is working, everything is on, external drive editing is on. What happens if we disconnect the drive? When you disconnect your drive, you will not be able to do any playback of the media. The media will appear as frozen, like an image. So if you go over to another project or try to edit the current video, you will be prompted with a message saying missing files. So to locate and edit the footage, you will need to reconnect the exact same external drive you used when importing the clip. Once you have that drive connected, you can either double tap on one of the clips on your timeline, or you can tap on the drive icon, which is on the bottom left section. This icon will also be your indicator in whether or not your drive drive is connected properly. Now once you tapped on that or double tapped on the clip, it will automatically be refreshed and you can now work on your clips. Now the way that I've been using my SSD with Lumafusion for years, I know I've said this before and I made multiple videos on it, but in case you are brand new to this channel, I will do a quick external drive workflow tutorial. So the first thing that I always do when I get a new SSD is that I go into Lumafusion and over to the source menu on the top left corner, and I go to Files. Here I choose Add Link to Folder and select the connected external drive and tap Done. If we take a look at the file section now, we can see the folder with the name Samsung T5. This is the entire SSD and everything which is on it, right? So now I have one folder where I can access everything on the SSD, but I also want to add folders for faster workflow, so I don't have to scrub through all the media, all the folders which are on the SSD. So still having the SSD connected to the iPad, I go down and add a new link to folder, and then I select the folder which I use the most. So in this case, that can be the Creators Transition version 2 update. So I'm gonna tap on add that, and now for every time I want to use one of my paper transitions, these are free by the way, so if you want 61 free paper tear transitions for Lumafusion, you can find the video down in the description below. Follow the video, get the word download for free. Anyway, so now I want to use any of these transitions, right? So instead of accessing the whole SSD, trying to find the folder, I can just go to the file section, tap on the transition folder, choose the transition by selecting one, do a preview, and then drag it over to the timeline and adjust and so on. So this has definitely saved me hours in the long run of editing in Lumafusion. So all the most used folders is what I connect to my files folder. So when I plug in my SSD, I have easy access to the certain folders which I always use. So there you have my tiny SSD workflow. But there's also some minor changes to the app's layout. It's really minor, but for me, I think it looks it gives the app a really nice look and a sort of appearance boost, if I can say it like that. And the linking lines, you know, before the linking lines were really big, it was clunky, and now they actually trimmed them down, so it gives the app a more satisfying and professional look. My opinion though, so I don't know if you even noticed the changes, but the lines are very small now and it's like super clean, and I really like that. Now there's also another thing added to this brand new update, and that is a number pad. So if we go into frame and fit here, we can see on the right hand side, for example next to the position X, you can see that we have a new icon here, a new button which is looking like a pencil. If we tap on that, we will have this number pad popping up, and what you can do with this is basically type in the different numbers that you want of positions and so on. Even rotation has this now, which is amazing, and this really speeds up especially my workflow, because back in the days I was doing a lot of side-by-side comparisons, and it was, you know, it wasn't really convenient to move the sliders. It was jumpy, so once I got to, let's say 32, then it suddenly jumped back to 42, and I had to be quite accurate, and then I had to use these knobs here on the side to get the perfect position. Now anyway, this is a really nice feature which is going to improve the workflow if you do a lot of side-by-side comparisons, or if you do a lot of size changes and so on to the different clips here. And what you can do with this as well, so let's say I want this to be side by side with the two other images, so I'm gonna have 3 in the same row here. That means we can go into the edit here and we can type in, let's say for example 67, which is putting it over to the right side here, and we can go over to size and we can type in 33, which is now giving you that 3 clip side by side comparison look here. Another thing is that we can also save these as a preset. So if we tap on the pencil again, I can go over to where you see it stands or it says 0.0. If I now tap hold on that, that will automatically now be the same as the one that I have here under these sliders. So 67 is now saved here as a preset. So we're going to do the same with the 33. We're going to tap hold and save that as 33. And if we just reset everything now, let's go over to another image. For example, let's go over to this. I'm going to double tap on that, into frame and fit here, and we go to position X, tap on that, tapping on 67, going down to size, tapping on 33, and we can now use this as our side-by-side comparison workflow improvement, or whatever you want to call it. And you can also of course do this with 50, which is the side by side of two images, and this is something which is a huge improvement for me, but it might be just a minor for you. But this is definitely something which is upping the game for Lumafusion and lumatouch as well, having all these minor but really powerful and easy to use features. What is your favorite feature coming with the next update 3.0? Is it stabilization? Is it external drive editing? If you are the audio guy that I'm looking for, make sure to type it down in the comment section below. What type of audio apps are you using with Lumafusion? Because if I can get one audio plugin which is working fairly well, nothing, you can't compare anything to computer, Mac, anything like that, because the plugins are better optimized and all that. But if there is anything which is like crazy good, let me know in the comment section below, because I really want to test out that too. That's gonna be the end of today's video. I need some sleep, so I'm gonna go do that, and I'll see you in the next video. Hit that subscribe button, by the way, if you haven't. First time here, welcome. I forgot to say that in the beginning, but if this is the first time, welcome. Really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button as well. And with that said, that's gonna be the end of today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Convict.